In the realm of single-player RPGs where we venture through the various levels and challenges, there are instances where the games won't let us go through it alone. I'm talking about companions who we are stuck with throughout our entire playthrough, offering aid in whatever shape or form and providing some entertaining banter as the game progresses. Joel has Ellie, Kratos has Atreus, and here we have our girlfriend, or boyfriend, whichever you prefer playing as. This is Haven. Haven is a single-player adventure RPG developed by the Game Bakers, where you play as either you or Kay, two lovers who have escaped to this unknown planet fleeing from what we only know as the Apiary. From here, their goal is to settle on this newly found planet to leave their past behind and start anew. The game starts out in the Nest, which is the ship they use to escape and acts as sort of a hub where you can do some activities like cooking, chatting, and healing after an adventure, and maybe even more as the game progresses. We see how the couple interact with one another as how any couple would, living out their life in whatever way they can. You can also choose whichever response to give at certain times, which will affect the dialogue progression by changing the person's reaction to said statement, but will not change the outcome as far as I know, so feel free to pick whichever one you like.
I also have some good news.
What's that?
I love you.
After having their steamy moment interrupted by a power outage, you would then need to go out in order to collect some flow, which is their main source of power. We are then introduced to the tutorial section of the game, where we are taught all the basic controls for movement. You will be well acquainted with the gliding mechanic, as that will be your primary method of getting around the landscape, because walking will get you nowhere because it's extremely slow and there's a lot of land to cover. Although the map is broken up into little sections, and we will get into that in a bit. At the main menu screen, we are already being told that using a controller is the recommended way of playing the game, but I find that using the keyboard has no problems. It doesn't feel awkward at all, as all the keys you need for movement can all be reached in one hand, including the interact button, which is the letter E. And come on, who doesn't like to fly around in some sort of hover boot contraption?
Over there.
I know I would. The map is separated into smaller sections with resources to gather and animal life to interact with. And we sometimes get small dialogue from you and Kay reacting to various life forms they come across and resources that we have not yet discovered.
Looks like a type of Hygroscybrubicins.
Ah, is that good news? Like, can we eat it?
Oof, not at all. Unless you're looking for a quick way to unload your kidneys.
Go ahead, taste it.
Why should I be the one to test it?
Your body mass is higher, so you have better resistance to poison. And also, you saw them first. I wouldn't dream of stealing the discovery from you. Think about it. You'll be the first person in the universe to ingest these berries.
Each section is linked via the flow bridge, which has not been explained as to what it is yet, but from my understanding, it's some path of energy that they use to glide on using their glider or their ship. Let's not also forget to mention that the map or the land itself looks stunning. Don't ask me about the color because I don't know what color I'm looking at right now. All I can say is I love the way the land looks. The vast grassy plains that cover the majority of the area, dotted with various small hills and mountains, is only complemented by the background of large floating islands over the vast planet. Really gives this world an unexplored or frontier territory vibe to it. So, being an unexplored planet filled with unknown plants and animals, surely one or two things are likely to be hostile to us, right? Meet the rust. It's once again an unknown substance that taints the surrounding land, including plants. It is very sensitive to flow energy, which is why when we step on it, the rust disappears and removes any trace it has on the ground and on plants, enabling us to gather resources again. But what about animal life that has been affected by this rust? These creatures seen with red crystal-like objects on their backs are tainted with rust and will appear hostile to the player. Approaching one will initiate a combat sequence where we will be greeted with a rather simple combat mechanic.
Are you okay?
At first glance, it would appear that the combat would be turn-based. It isn't. Whether you just stand there doing nothing, combat will still resume its pace, giving your enemy free hits to your character unless you do something. To issue a command, one only needs to press and hold either one of the directional buttons for K or the triangle, square, circle, and X buttons for U, each with a different command on a controller. Blast is for lightly armored enemies, and Impact is, yep, you guessed it, for armored ones. Shield is used to block incoming attacks and can be used to block attacks that is directed to the other character. Lastly, the Pacify command is used on a downed enemy to cleanse them of the rust, and once all enemies are pacified, combat ends and you gain what it seems to be experience points of some sorts. One major gripe that I have with this, however, is that there is no way to choose which enemy to target, so strategy is kinda out the window on this one, as you're left to simply spamming the appropriate command and moving on to the next target.
I'm on it.
Now shoo.
We make a good team.
There are also combo moves that you can do on special enemies that are just too powerful for normal attacks. Let's take this fight for example. Normal attacks do little to nothing and would need a coordinated attack in order to do damage. To activate it, you simply need to do the same type of attack for both characters and time the indicator at the right moment before releasing the buttons to unleash the combo and deal significant damage to the target. Rinse and repeat until the target is down and pacified and you can resume your adventure. And that is it. We have explored everything that the demo has to offer. Haven has a very casual feel to it. You're encouraged to explore the planet, collecting resources and learning more about the environment you're in and the relationship of you and K and why they are running away from the apiary. The mechanics so far have been very basic, but this is just a demo. Surely, most of what we saw here will be expanded upon once the game releases. Personally, I'm kinda interested as to where this story goes. The game itself is charming in its own way, and if you want to take a break from all the action-packed games from the same genre and take a more laid-back feel, you can give this game a try. And I would love to see the dynamic of you and K further down the line. I can't say any more about the game until it's fully released, but hey, don't take my word for it, feel free to check out the demo yourself. I'll leave the link in the description to the Steam page so you can experience this game in your own way. Thanks for watching guys, I'll see you in the next one.